You're not broke because you don't work hard enough. You're broke because nobody ever taught you how money actually works. Think about it. You go to school for years. You learn history, geometry, literature, but not one class on how to keep the money you earn. Not one lesson on how wealth is actually built. And that gap, that deliberate gap, has cost you more than any failed exam ever did. Right now, somewhere in the world, two people are earning the exact same salary. One will retire wealthy. The other will die stressed, dependent, and wondering what went wrong. The difference isn't luck. It isn't talent. It isn't even effort. It's strategy. And that's exactly what we're unpacking today. 10 brutal, time-tested strategies drawn from the mind of history's most ruthless strategist, Niccolò Machiavelli, applied to the one battlefield most people never prepare for: their finances. Stay until the end, because strategy 10 is the one that makes everything else automatic. And it's the reason most people never actually escape financial mediocrity. Let's destroy a dangerous idea right now. The idea that your income is the problem. Every month, millions of people repeat the same thought: if I just made more money, everything would be fine. If the salary was higher, if the raise came through, if the side hustle finally paid off. But here's what Machiavelli understood centuries before modern economics existed. Power is never about resources, it's about control. He watched kings lose empires, not because they lacked armies, but because they lacked strategy. He watched poor men rise to dominance not because fortune smiled on them, but because they understood something everyone else missed. The same principle applies to money. Income is not power, control is. And the most dangerous financial trap isn't debt, it isn't inflation, it isn't a bad economy. It's the belief that your situation changes when your paycheck changes. It doesn't. Studies consistently show that lottery winners return to their previous financial state within a few years. Athletes who earned millions go broke after retirement. Executives with high salaries live paycheck to paycheck. Why? Because income without strategy is just a faster leak. So if you're ready to stop hoping for more money and start building actual wealth with what you already have, this is for you. Let's begin. Strategy 1. Pay yourself first, like your future owes you, before your landlord, before your bills, before your subscriptions and your groceries and your coffee. Pay yourself first. This sounds simple. It isn't, because everything in your financial environment is designed to make you do the opposite. Rent is urgent. Bills have deadlines. Your future, that's flexible. That's for later. And later is the most expensive word in the English language. John D. Rockefeller understood this before he became the wealthiest man in American history. Before the oil empire, before the billions, he was a bookkeeper earning a modest wage. And from his very first paycheck, he did something most people never do. He treated his own future as a non-negotiable debt. Not savings, not if there's anything left. A debt to himself, paid before anyone else. That single habit didn't make him rich overnight, but it gave him the one thing that precedes all wealth: control. Here's the shift most people miss. When you save what's left over at the end of the month, you're telling your brain a story. You're saying, my present comfort matters more than my future security. And your brain believes you every month for decades. But when you move money to yourself first, even a small amount, you rewrite that story. You tell your brain, my future is non-negotiable. And behavior follows a belief. The amount is almost irrelevant in the beginning. What matters is the identity you're building. Start with whatever you can. 5%, 3%, even 1%. The number is not the point. The habit is the point. The identity is the point. Because one day that habit will carry a much larger number, and by then you won't even flinch. Warren Buffett said the best investment you can make is in yourself. What he meant at the deepest level is this: The way you treat your own financial future is the clearest signal of what you believe you deserve. Pay yourself first, not someday. Today. Strategy 2. Track every dollar like it owes you an explanation. Here's a question, and be honest. Have you ever checked your bank account at the end of the month and genuinely had no idea where the money went? Not carelessly, not joking, actually confused. Like the numbers didn't add up, like something was stolen. It wasn't stolen. It escaped, quietly, repeatedly, in ways you never stop to examine. Thursday night, you're exhausted. You tell yourself you'll cook tomorrow. So you open a delivery app. The food is reasonable. But then the service fee, the delivery charge, the tip, and suddenly a 300 rupee meal becomes a 600 rupee decision you barely remember making by Saturday. Multiply that across a month, across a year, across the small purchases, the forgotten subscriptions, the quick convenience buys that feel invisible in the moment but devastating in review. That gap between what you think you spend and what you actually spend is where your wealth silently disappears. Machiavelli wrote that the most dangerous threats are the ones you cannot see. He wasn't talking about money, but he could have been. Strategy 2. Track everything, not because you're cheap, because you're precise. The Rothschild family, who built one of the most powerful banking empires in history, tracked every transaction, every movement of capital, every flow of resources, not obsessively, strategically, because they understood that awareness creates leverage. And without awareness, you're negotiating from blindness. You don't need an expensive system. A notes app works. A spreadsheet works. Even a small journal works. The tool is irrelevant. The act of looking, honestly, consistently, is everything. Because when you start seeing your numbers clearly, something shifts. You can't tell yourself the comfortable stories anymore. The data doesn't care about your excuses. It reveals patterns, and patterns reveal identity. This is where real discipline is born. Not from motivation, from confrontation with reality. You're not broke, you've been careless in ways nobody ever challenged you to examine. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that's the beginning of power. Strategy 3. Live like you're building, not performing. We live in a world that rewards appearances. Looking rich matters more than being free. Showing status matters more than building substance. And the most financially destructive trap of the middle class isn't poverty. It's the pressure to perform wealth before actually having it. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Rich people often look average. Average people try hard to look rich. The difference is what's happening beneath the surface. Someone driving a 10-year-old car with no debt, consistently investing every month, has more real power than someone driving a new luxury vehicle on EMMI living paycheck to paycheck. One is free, the other is leasing the appearance of freedom while paying for it with their actual freedom. Machiavelli would call this strategic positioning. You don't reveal your strength, you build it quietly. This is what I call stealth living. You intentionally keep your lifestyle cheaper than it needs to be. Not because you enjoy discomfort, but because you understand leverage. You delay gratification while others rush into it, and over time, the gap between you and everyone else grows. Not dramatically, quietly. A software engineer earning a solid but not exceptional income who lives simply for 5 years and invests consistently will, in most cases, outperform someone earning twice as much who upgrades their lifestyle with every raise. Same world, different outcomes, not because of income, because of discipline. Real wealth is never about looking rich, it's about becoming free. And freedom is built in the margins between what you earn and what you spend. Protect those margins. They are your most valuable asset. Strategy 4. Build quiet income. Forget everything hustle culture told you. You don't need to destroy yourself working 16-hour days. You don't need 3 jobs and 4 hours of sleep. That isn't strategy. That's desperation dressed up as discipline. The goal isn't to suffer more. The goal is to build systems that earn without requiring constant effort. Quiet income looks boring. That's why it works. A freelance skill offered once a week, a digital product created once and sold repeatedly, templates, written content, consulting, reselling undervalued items. Small, consistent, unsexy income streams that nobody talks about at dinner parties. None of it is glamorous. All of it is effective. I know someone who created a simple digital resource years ago. They rarely touch it now, but it still generates a few $100s every month without active work, no audience, no hype, no grind, just compounding patience. Here's what most people underestimate. A small additional income stream, invested properly over years, becomes significant wealth. But more importantly, it changes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who depends entirely on a single paycheck. You become someone with options, layers, alternatives. And that, the feeling of options, is what power actually feels like. Not loud, not flashy. Strategy 5. Make your money untouchable. Discipline is fragile. Systems are not. Most people believe they need more self-control. They don't. They need friction, structural distance between themselves and their impulses. Because if your money is easy to reach, it's easy to destroy. All it takes is one late night, one emotional low, one "I deserve this" moment, and months of progress quietly evaporate. So here's the move. Open a second account at a different bank. No debit card, no app on your phone, no easy access. Then automate a fixed transfer every time you get paid, even a small one. And then forget about it. Out of sight becomes out of mind. Out of mind becomes untouched. And untouched becomes still there a year later. This isn't theory. This is how people on ordinary incomes quietly build substantial savings over time. Not because they're more disciplined, because they remove the opportunity to fail. Machiavelli never relied on willpower. He believed in designing conditions where winning becomes the path of least resistance. You don't fight temptation, you outsmart it. Strategy 6. Invest even when it feels pointless. Most people say, "I'll start investing when I have more money." That moment never comes. Because investing isn't about having money. It's about becoming the kind of person who invests. Warren Buffett bought his first stock as a child. Not because the amount was significant, but because ownership changed how he thought about money. That shift is the entire point. Poor thinking focuses on sending. Wealthy thinking focuses on owning. Spending disappears instantly. Ownership compounds quietly. If you're waiting to invest because the amount feels too small to matter, you're missing the lesson entirely. That small investment isn't about returns, it's about repetition. Identity, training, because one day the amount won't be small. And by then, you'll already know exactly what to do. You'll have been doing it for years. Time in the market beats timing the market, not because of math, but because of behavior. The person who invests consistently for 20 years thinks differently than the person who waited for the right moment. Start now. Start small. Start regardless. Strategy 7. Use rich math, not poor math. Poor math asks, "Can I afford the monthly payment?" Rich math asks, "What will this actually cost me over time? And what am I giving up to pay for it?" That one distinction changes everything. Most people budget like this: rent, bills, food, lifestyle, and if anything remains, maybe some savings. That's survival math. That's living permanently at the edge. Rich math reverses it. Needs first, wealth building second, wants only if anything remains. The 50-30-20 framework. 50% needs, 30% wants, 20% savings is a starting point. But real progress looks more like 60% needs, 30% wealth building, 10% wants. That rebalancing is how someone earning 40,000 can quietly outperform someone earning 150,000. One is intentional, the other is reactive. And here's the truth most people avoid. People don't go broke because they earn too little. They go broke because they believe they deserve present comfort more than future freedom. Rich math says, future freedom is always worth more. It always is. Strategy 8. Kill the debt traps. Nobody warns you about this one stings. Because it's been normalized by now, pay later. Car EMIs. Minimum credit card payments. Lifestyle subscriptions that feel essential but aren't. None of it looks dangerous in isolation. That's why it works. A monthly car payment for a vehicle you barely need. A 0% EMI that trains you to finance everything. These aren't just purchases, they're patterns. They condition you to consistently live beyond your means, comfortably, quietly, indefinitely. Here's something the financial industry doesn't advertise. They don't profit when you're wealthy. They profit when you're in debt. Every low monthly payment is engineered to keep you dependent. Every credit limit increase is a longer leash that feels like freedom. Machiavelli would recognize this immediately. It is control dressed as convenience. Debt doesn't just cost money. It costs options. Once your lifestyle depends on monthly payments, you can't walk away from the job you hate. You can't take the risk. You can't say no. Every unnecessary debt is a cage you built and paid for yourself. The person with no EMIs, simple habits, and consistent investments is winning, even if nobody at the table notices, especially because nobody notices. Strategy 9. Build stealth wealth. Most people think wealth is loud. Cars, clothes, vacations, social proof. But those are signals, not substance. And signals attract the wrong kind of attention. Pressure to maintain, pressure to perform, pressure to keep spending to match the image. Real wealth avoids all of that. Machiavelli wrote that the strongest position is often the least visible one. Not hidden out of weakness, protected out of strategy. Stealth wealth means you are financially strong without announcing it. No lifestyle competition, no performance, no need to prove anything to anyone. You move quietly. Your money grows quietly. The wealthiest people in any room are often the ones you'd never guess. Simple clothes, older car, no noise, no show. Not because they can't afford more, because they understand something most people don't. Visibility is expensive. Silence is an asset. When nobody expects you to spend, you don't feel pressure to. You're no longer performing. You're positioning. Old money understood this for generations. They stayed wealthy not by showing it, but by protecting it from the attention that erodes it. The real flex isn't the car or the watch. It's not worrying about a large emergency expense. It's owning your time, being able to say no, sleeping without anxiety because your life isn't financed on borrowed ground. That's wealth, and it's silent. Strategy 10. Automate everything, then forget about it. Here's the final move, and it's the one that makes everything else sustainable. Motivation fades, discipline weakens, life gets complicated. Machiavelli never trusted human consistency. He trusted systems. And the most powerful financial system you can build is one that doesn't ask for your permission. Automate your savings, automate your investments, automate your bill payments. Set everything to move without you. A fixed transfer to your untouchable account. A recurring investment to your portfolio. Every time you get paid, the system executes, whether you feel like it or not. Because you won't always feel disciplined. Some months will be hard. Some seasons will test you. But automation doesn't care about your feelings. It executes anyway. This is how wealth quietly compounds in the background while you live your life. This is how ordinary people, on ordinary incomes, build extraordinary results over time. And here's the paradox nobody tells you. The less you actively think about your money, the more consistently it grows. Because systems outperform willpower every time, without exception. You won't manually save every month for 30 years, but an automated system will. Balances grow, investments compound, and one day you look back and realize something profound. You didn't hustle your way out of scarcity. You designed your way out. Here's the truth this entire video has been building toward. You don't need a higher income to build wealth. You need better behavior, better systems, and more control. Quiet wealth is never built through hype. It's built through habits, patience, structure, restraint, and the quiet, consistent decision made over and over to choose future freedom over present comfort. While everyone else is chasing fast results, you're building something that lasts. Slowly, silently, powerfully. If your income feels small right now, good, because that means strategy matters more. And strategy is the one thing you control completely. Discipline is powerful, but automation is unstoppable. Build the system once, let it run. Let time do the heavy lifting, and let silence protect your progress. Don't think about where you are today. Think about who you're becoming. That's the identity you step into from here.